Welcome back. The Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC, has warned that political parties might boycott the 2027 general elections if controversial sections of the Electoral Act 2026 are not quickly amended. IPAC says some provisions in the law could damage internal party democracy and reduce trust in the electoral process. After an emergency meeting, IPAC Chairman Yusuf Dantale stated that the council is prepared to mobilize political parties across the country to oppose the law if the National Assembly does not address the concerns. Raymond, how serious is this threat by the Inter-Party Advisory Council to boycott the 2027 Nigerian general elections? Is this a political tactic or a real possibility?
Well, for me, I don't take that seriously, and because this is just, I see those reactions as a function of advocacy. You know, the IPAC, their role, they are a political organization that, advocates for a better political situation in the country. So their reactions is not different from the reactions of the lawmakers who are opposed to some sections of the newly passed Electoral Act, but which eventually scaled through. So the lawmaking process, and before then, I think in a representational democracy, the agency of the people is through their elected representatives. So, and once they have performed their role within the context of legislation, and the outcome of that process has crystallized into a validly, signed law, I think that process has come to an end. Any other reaction that borders on misgivings with the provisions of the Act can only be in the realm of maybe advocacy reaction. If you feel strongly about the position you have taken, you can go to the courts and subject those provisions to judicial test, and then let the judiciary decide whether those laws were validly made. Whether you like the outcome, it's not, it's a democracy, and everybody's view would not always be captured. The majority will have their way, and the minority will have their say. I think this is just IPAC, trying to meet up with the purpose for which it was established, but I don't take it seriously. Just one of those political distractions.
All right, Kayode, what part of the Electoral Act do you think is really raising dust right now? Because from the look of things, it appears the concerns and the agitations being raised is hiding under a grand scheme. What exactly do you think is raising dust that is really causing that uncertainty with opposition parties at the moment?
Okay, this time around, let me do it this way. Let me answer your question and also pick from what he says, because I listen too. So, for example, the idea you raised from your introduction, the internal party democracy. Now, I'm waiting for lawmakers to come and tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about. I feel it is disingenuous of opposition lawmakers, no matter how small they are, that they didn't have hot debates on these clauses that has to do with the internal party nomination of candidates. The fact that you're dealing with indirect primaries has been taken off. You understand? There's no more delegates. We're now left with direct primaries and consensus. So I think this is an issue that should have created a hot debate, because the idea of direct primaries, personally I have some issues with it, but it has its own merit. One of the merits is the fact that you know the number you scored, but times have proven to us that sometimes they can move from 17 and move to 30. And there's no how you can have INEC officials go around all the words when these primaries are going on. So therefore, if INEC is monitoring here, INEC will not be able to monitor there. So I have issues with the indirect being taken off. So the other one is the electronic registration. A lot of parties are late to the party. When I mean the party now, they are late to the game, because the process of registration, APC has perfected it and they are good to go. APC is ready for election next month, if election is happening next month. So why didn't these lawmakers talk about it? To the real issue, which you talked about, this is an empty threat. Quote me, pure empty threat. Because politics is about a game of numbers. So when APC is getting more members to its side, when lawmakers are getting, this is the whole essence.
Absolutely.
It's about numbers.
Absolutely.
What is your party doing? What are you doing to fortify your party? What are you doing to lobby these lawmakers to stand for what you stand? The majority will always have their way. The minority will have their say. In this case, they didn't even have a say. They didn't even raise any issue. With other issues, they are busy wasting time on mandatory upload of results, which I consider less important than this issue of nomination. See, the reason why we are having so many attentions on the Electoral Act is because politicians are serious about their return or their exit.
Okay.
They don't take the issue of the issue of PIA very serious like this. They didn't take the issue that has to do with ecology fund serious in the National Assembly. But when it has to do with election, they put every noise and it. And somebody is threatening general election. Trust me, it's an empty threat.
All right, thank you very much. Remo, before we go to our next topic, the boycott. Of course, the boycott threat, like you said, is quite empty. But is this a sign that Nigeria's electoral reforms are becoming more controversial rather than strengthening our democracy? On a lighter note.
I think it's a mixture of both.
Okay.
So these noises should not be unexpected in a robust and vibrant democracy. So those views are welcome.
Right.
But to what extent? To the extent of advocacy. We have a law in place, and I think the political parties should go back home, study the current electoral framework, and prepare for the next election instead of wasting time debating over spilt milk.
Thank you very much. All right, our final conversation for the evening.